Hi, welcome to the small shed. This Saturday I'm back in the garage, hopefully going to finish off the painting on the walls. See you in a minute. Right, so this week I'm making a start on getting this wall painted and made ready. There's a lot more work in this one. I've got to put some power supply across the bottom above the benches, which means I've got to adapt all the wiring that's been waiting for a long while to be connected into the main ring main that goes up and down through those two cable trunkings over there. And I want to get the wall painted white, obviously, and get all the boxes tidied up there, get all the stuff sorted a little bit more, ready for getting the work done. First thing I've done is to just tape up the door controls and the cables. Just saves getting paint all over everything and keeps it looking reasonably respectable. There's still a little bit of a hole to fill up in the top of the wall section, but I've subsequently done that and recoated it. This was the first coat of white that I did prior to getting some shelves up in there. I wanted to put some shelves in that area, so I used some of the spare shelving brackets that I've got and drilled the wall, plugged it and put the vertical supports in, so that when it came to painting later on, I could just paint over the whole lot and it would all blend in together. I've got a couple of shelves cut just to fill in that gap and keep a little bit more storage. It's another little stolen area that I've got that is useful to put some of the boxes in, that's all. And then I've moved on to putting one of my Christmas presents on the wall. I got some racking type things that I asked for, which are really just to hang tools on behind the workbench, and they've been still in their cardboard box since December, so at least they're starting to get a little bit of sign of life to get used. They're not going to stay there for long, but they are there for a purpose, which we'll go into in a minute or two. It's fairly simple stuff, but it gives me a chance to get the tools where I can actually see them for the garage and keep a separate set in there to the shed, because it tends to be a different sort of set of tools. It's more hammers and spanners out there than in the shed, where it tends to be more woodworking tools. Right, now I've got the tool wall up. I'm not too sure I'm happy with the red hangers all over everywhere, but we'll see what we can do about that. Trouble is, with painting a powder coated item, it'll soon get scratched and damaged and reveal the red underneath. So I'm not sure whether we'll do anything with that at all or not, but it'll enable me to get the tools that I want in the workshop part all in one place where I can find them. So that now leaves me with the electrics, which is a bugbear that's been with me for a long while. Looks an awful mess, but it is very simple. Effectively all that is at the moment is a spur that goes off along there to serve the garage door, so that's not a big problem. It's just in the junction box there. I've cleared up some of this on the other side. Again, simple enough. In there are the two wires that come down and back up into the ceiling void above, which are the, I hope, and I'll check it, I'm pretty sure they are, ground floor power. And effectively that's just part of the ring main coming in and going out again. So all I've got to do really is tidy all this up, the broken bits that used to be a radio connection and a heater spur, take all that off, take the wiring out. I think I'm going to take that trunking off altogether, drop it slightly and move it across so that it comes into line with the bottom of the tool wall up to there, because I don't particularly want sockets over the back of the bench. I only want them where all the tools are going to be. The power tools are going to be the grinders and possibly a parts washer, the compressor, things like that. So I just need to get all that at the moment disconnected, removed, made safe temporarily, replace the ducting at a new level along the back, and then wherever there are holes I can work it so that we've got new socket boxes, and then I can run sockets from there. And the beauty of that is it's easy enough once it's set up to be able to just unclip it and put an extra socket in if you need it. So that's the next order of the day. As usual with these things, it should be a qualified electrician, or a competent person, I think is the terminology. So you should only really be using a qualified electrician. Now it might seem a bit premature to be putting stuff up on the walls before I even paint them, but there is some method in the madness. I'm trying to mock up how I want the finished thing to be, and clearly these are going to have to be taken off before the plasterer comes to work on the ducting over there. But I needed that to establish that level. I needed that level to be established so I could put the trunking in, and then I can get that set up right and get all my sockets and that in the right places. I'm putting a light switch in which I can wire in from the power that will come from that row of fluorescents down that bit of trunking, and then I can put some lighting over here, so I've got some under bench lighting, or at least provision for it, so it's getting this sort of thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead that I need to do, and that'll all run in the boxings. And then the other main reason is that I want to, once I've got that level established, I want to tile the splashback of this workbench, because I know from experience before, when you start using these wheels with the polishing compounds on, it splatters all over the wall. It might be a problem above, I'm not sure, but certainly below you'll get an awful lot, and it's much easier to clean off a tiled wall rather than a brickwork. So the reason for the whole thing has been to establish that area of tiling, because I don't want to paint where I'm tiling. You get very good adhesion between the tile adhesive and the wall, and you would get very good adhesion between the tile adhesive and the paint, but unfortunately paint and the wall you don't get a very good adhesion, and it would, if you tile on top of paint, usually it's a recipe for future problems when things start to fall off. So that's really the whole point. I'm just trying to make sure I've got roughly that area marked out that I'm not going to paint. I know the level now at which I've got to put that trunking in. I can then strip it all back and get all this painted then, and move on with that bit of the wall. So I've just put the fixings in for the little bit of conduit that runs up for the light that's going to be over the bench. I'm not sure what I'm going to use yet, whether I'll use the LED panels or an LED strip, I don't know yet, but we certainly want to get something in. And at that point then I had to take everything back off the walls so that I could get the painting done, and at that stage it was also ready for the plasterer. I've moved the workbench across so that the pipe duct is exposed, and we've just got on with the painting. It's much easier doing it now on this side of the garage because you've got the common bricks which are smooth and take the paint much more easily than the facing ones over on the other side that used to be on the side of the house. I've also put a set of shelving brackets up for over the workbenches as well, to put a shelf up there beneath the wall units. Right, so that's finished that wall now. I've just got to obviously do the tiling where there's the gap, but it's had a first coat. There's a few holes still to sort out, most of which are behind units, so I probably won't bother with those. We'll see. I'll put the units back up, and then once the plaster has been and gone, we can worry about a second coat. I've used, because I'd run out of the white paint that I was using on the other wall, I've used this base coat tint that I bought from the scrap store for £5, and it turns out it's a very light grey actually. I don't have a problem with that. I'm putting a grey floor in here anyway, I think, so it matches with the door and everything, so I'm quite happy with it as a colour. What it means is that that wall and the toilet wall, when it's plastered, will all be grey, roughly half the garage, and the other half will be white, because I can't go back really easily and paint the rest of it grey because of the pipe work and everything. I'd painted that before we even fitted the boiler, but I'm happy with that as a two-tone issue, as a two-tone scheme. So I think it'll fit in fine with the flooring. So that's that. Next job now is, I've started to cover up, is that wait for the plasterer to come and we can get on and get some progress made. So that's got the walls finished, I think, as far as the painting goes for the moment. They'll need touching up and probably another coat actually when the plaster has been. Certainly around the edges, but we'll sort that out as and when. Next video on the garage will probably be the plastering, hopefully. But next week we'll be doing something different, I hope, and I'll see you then. Bye!